When they arrived, they appeared in front of a town that was being used as the headquarters for the rebels. The guards on duty were freaking out at what they were seeing. There in front of them was every member of the Kiri no Shinobigatana Nananin Shu. One of the guards spoke up. How can we help you? Zabuza stepped forward. We would like an audience with the leader of the rebels. The guard that spoke nodded and alerted the Anbu. They will escort you to see her. Zabuza nodded and stepped back. The guards and Anbu were curious about that, and more so when a mini Yondaime Hokage walked forward and motioned for the group to follow. As they walked through the streets, they attracted a lot of attention. At first the people were shocked to see the Kiri no Shinobigatana Nananin Shu together again, but when they noticed who was leading the group, more whispers broke out. The older ninja knew if the swordsmen were allowing this child to lead them, then he must be stronger than either of them, and the way he carried himself showed an experienced shinobi. When the younger ninja and civilians heard this, they were left speechless for a couple seconds till they started whispering again. Naruto ignored them all and continued forward. After a few minutes they arrived at what appeared to be a hotel. They followed the Anbu inside and spotted more shinobi and kunoichi inside. The Anbu lead them to a room that could fit a couple hundred people in it. There were maps of the country and locations of various villages and towns, and of course the location of Kirigakure no Sato. The Anbu motioned them to stop at the entrance as they watched him walk up to a young woman who Naruto assumed was the leader, and watched as she looked at him and the others. She nodded her head and motioned for them to approach. She was intrigued when she saw Naruto walking ahead of the group, as she knew what that meant as well. As Naruto walked closer, he was eyeing her and the way she held herself. She was very beautiful in Naruto's opinion. Her hair, a russet red color, fell down to her mid-back, and her eyes are jade green. She was wearing webbing as an inner layer, with a blue garment covering it. It was rather provocative, as much of her long legs, upper torso and DD breasts could be seen. As Naruto was looking her over, she was doing the same. The way he carries himself shows he has shinobi training, and since the others are letting him walk in front, he must be stronger than even Kisame. He's rather cute as well and looks like a mini Yondaime Hokage, she thought. When Naruto stopped in front of the desk, he looked her in her eyes, which earned him a few points, and spoke. I am assuming you are Rose, the leader of the rebels. She nodded and said, Hi, I am. What is your purpose for wishing to see me? I wish to help you in your fight against the Mizukage. With my joining, you will also get the help of my comrades behind me. I have information that could be very enlightening, and in exchange I want to fight the Mizukage alone, and I also wish to speak to the Jinchuriki of the Rokubi no Namakuji, Naruto spoke. Rose was intrigued by the offer and said, You believe you can fight the Mizukage? You do realize he is a cage for a reason? Naruto nodded and said, I do, but I also believe that someone is controlling him, and I believe I know who, and that is just a fraction of the information I am willing to give. Rose and the other rebel ninja were shocked at the accusation. She agreed and led them to some rooms to stay at. Before she left, Naruto grabbed her hand and told her to bring the Jinchuriki with her tonight to his room when he gives her the information. She nodded with a slight tinge to her cheeks and left. Later that night, Naruto and his group were waiting for Rose and the Jinchuriki to arrive. After a couple minutes, the door opened. She walked in first, followed by a young man wearing a blue robe, revealing his chest with a scroll in his robe and a flute in his hand. This is Utakata, the Jinchuriki of the Rokubi no Namakuji. Now I know of the names of the 7 swordsmen and the demon brothers, but you have not told me your name or the name of the girl, Rose said. This young woman would be Haku, apprentice to Zabuza and one of the loves of my life. As for me, my name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto, King of Whirlpool and Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko, Naruto explained, getting a kiss from Haku. Rose and Utakata looked at him dumbfounded. Could you say that again? She asked. Rather than tell you everything, I have developed a jutsu for such an occasion as this that will show you my life up to this point, if you will allow me to, of course, Naruto said. Rose nodded slowly and watched as he went through hand seals fast enough that she only caught a glimpse of a few. After the 15th hand seal, Naruto called out Ninpo, Mu Kanran Vaza, ninja art, life viewing technique. Rose and the others all watched Naruto's life from the time Kyuubi was sealed into him to right before he activated the jutsu. All the guys were having nosebleeds at Kyuubi's human form and probably would have died if Naruto showed them their more intimate moments. Rose was shocked when she learned of how bloodlines came to be in the man named Uchiha Madara and everything he's done. After about 5 minutes, the jutsu was finished and they returned to their room. Naruto looked around and saw the look on their faces, looks of shock and rage on the guys' faces and the tears coming from Haku and Rose. It was one thing to hear about it, but it was entirely different to see it. Naruto made a shadow clone and had it hug Haku while he went over to Rose and picked her up and set her in his lap, hugging her and whispering in her ear that it only made him a stronger person. When she calmed down, he kissed her forehead and chuckled at her blushing face that matched her hair.
Damn, I'd still probably make him mine even if I didn't know about the effects of his third bloodline. Besides, I'm only 9 years older than him, and that other woman, too, I believe her name was, is older than me. Rose thought, still in his lap, then blushed harder when she thought of how he transfers his bloodline to his mates. She came up with a naughty idea and grinded her hip into his and inwardly congratulated herself at his small moan and was shocked in what she felt. Damn, if it's this big already, I can't wait until a few years when he takes me and I will make sure I'm part of his harem. I don't know if I'll last till then, but he will be my first and only man. She continued her thoughts and her face got redder and redder as the thoughts got dirtier and dirtier. She finally passed out when she thought of him, her and a lot of clones. Naruto was shocked when she grounded her hip into his but wasn't upset. He was inwardly laughing as he watched her facial features, thinking she was having pleasant thoughts and couldn't help but laugh out loud when she passed out with blood dripping from her nose. He noticed Haku was asleep in his clone's arms as well, and it was already 10 p.m., so he had the guys leave the room. He laid Haku and Rose into his king-size bed and took off their clothes, leaving on their underwear.
He had a small nosebleed at Rose's well-developed and matured body and Haku's body that was just starting to mature but was still impressive. She already had B-sized breasts for a 13-year-old. He stripped to his boxers and crawled up in between them. He smiled and kissed their foreheads as they instinctively cuddled up to him and went to sleep. Rose was the first to wake up. She felt her head lying on something comfortable and warm. She opened her eyes to find herself lying with Naruto with Haku on his other side. She lifted the blankets and let out a sigh of relief and disappointment to find their underwear still on. When she looked back up, she saw those amazing blue orbs looking at her with a smile on his face. He leaned over and kissed her. Wow, he's a great kisser, she thought and moaned when his tongue found hers. They broke apart after hearing a whimper and turned to see Haku up with a pout on her face. He smiled at her and kissed her as well. They lay back down with their heads on his chest. After you passed out, I noticed that it was already 10 p.m. and since both you and Haku were out, I had the others leave the room, then laid you in bed. I took off your clothes down to your underwear and I did the same, and I would have to say that was one of the most comfortable sleeps I've had, he said. The girls nodded their heads in agreement and they lay down for a few more minutes before they had to get up.
They spent the next couple months with Rose and the rebels. Naruto and Rose got a lot closer over the time, and Rose started seeing Haku as a little sister and Haku seeing her as a big sister, and Rose was already doing her most important job as a sibling and teasing her. The three of them went to bed every night together. Naruto and Rose also had a few spars during the months, and the rebels were shocked at his power. He was able to beat her every time, but he was always a good sport about it and helped her improve.
The people would often see Rose and Naruto, or Haku and Naruto, or all three of them walking through town. They were curious about this until Zabuza and Kisame got drunk one night and started telling everyone how it wasn't fair that Naruto got to have a harem because of his bloodlines. Needless to say, Naruto was pissed at them for letting that information slip, since more women kept hitting on him and the men were either praising his name or they'd give him that stink eye. But overall, they started looking up to Naruto as their hero and were glad their leader found someone to love. There was an incident though that happened at the beginning of September. Flashback: he had sent his clone and a phoenix summon to gather any info the Fuma clan had. A few hours later he received startling news. Apparently Orochimaru sent his personal guards along with 3 genins and another woman with an interesting Kekkei Genkai to intimidate the Fuma clan and have been causing trouble in town. They challenged the head of the clan to a fight the next day, and if he didn't show up they'd destroy the town. He quickly informed the others of this, and after a quick kiss to both Haku and Rose he sped out of town, and once he was far enough he summoned his fastest dragon summon. Kamikaze, I need you to get me to Rice Field Country as fast as possible, Naruto said to the dragon. It was about a third the size of Ryujin and had blue skin and had an affinity to wind. As you wish, Naruto-sama, Kamikaze said. Naruto hopped on and they made their way toward Rice Field Country. After 5 hours they made it to the outskirts of the town that contained Fuma Alley. He looked back up at his summon, Thanks again Kamikaze, he said. Don't mention it. See you later Naruto-sama, Kamikaze said. That was one thing the summons wouldn't give up. They always added, Sama, to his name no matter how much he objected and just went with it. Naruto made his way through Fuma Alley ignoring the looks he was receiving as he hadn't bothered to henge and headed into Club Lie Down. He looked around and spotted his third in command. Koto-chan, he called out. Kotohime was going over some paperwork when she heard a familiar voice call out, Koto-chan. She turned around and spotted him. She smiled and ran up to him hugging him. Naruto-kun, it's you. It's really you. Where have you been? How'd you get here so fast? Naruto chuckled and put a finger on her lips quieting her. She blushed and calmed down. He led her to a seat and pulled it out for her to sit down. She smiled and accepted the offer. He sat next to her and started, I've missed you as well Koto-chan. I've been in water country for the past few months and that is where I came from. As for how I got here so fast, well, I used my fastest dragon summon and made it here in about 5 hours. Wait, dragon? I thought you had the Phoenix contract, she inquired. I have both, he stated. She looked at him in wonder and shook her head. This is Naruto-kun. He's the most amazing person I've met, so I shouldn't be surprised, she thought. Where's Hanzaki? He asked. He's in back helping some who've been injured, she stated. He nodded and got up and offered his hand to her, which she took and blushed as he held her hand even when they entered the back room. He smiled at her and gave her a kiss on the cheek, which surprised her, and summoned a few clones with a quick Kage Bunshin no Jutsu and had them heal. He motioned Hanzaki over and they followed him to his office. He closed the door and said, report. Hanzaki collected himself and said, approximately 2 weeks ago Orochimaru sent his personal guard called the Sound 4 and each member has a curse seal. Along with them he sent 3 genin and a woman with a Kekkei Genkai that uses crystals. The Sound 4 consist of 3 males and 1 female and are probably mid-Junin level with their curse seals activated to level 2 and the woman is low Junin level. The genin consist of 2 males and 1 female. Naruto nodded at the information. Doesn't sound like they stand a chance against me, but still better play it safe, he thought. He dismissed them and spent the rest of the day with Kotohime and Sasama when she showed up. He took the 2 to his personal quarters and told them since he has multiple bloodlines he'll be able to marry up to 20 women for each bloodline in Konoha alone. He also told them that he planned on having some of his wives stay in Whirlpool to help govern the kingdom. They were both a little upset that they would have to share, but as long as he loved them equally they could live with it. He went to sleep with them all in their underwear after a hot make-out session with both girls. Naruto was the first to wake up. He smiled and kissed Kotohime and Sasama on the lips to wake them up. He made them breakfast and then got dressed in his regular clothes of black Anbu pants, a dark blue shirt with a Chunin-style vest over it and black shinobi boots with steel toes with his kodachis strapped to the bottom of his back, and got ready for the fight later today. Naruto arrived at the designated field at noon alone and spotted them. In fact, he had been observing them for a few minutes before he let himself be known when he used a high Shunshin no Jutsu that caught them off guard. Gurren and the others were waiting for the head of the Fuma clan to arrive. I don't know why Orochimaru-sama sent me along with these brats, she thought. She was trying to ignore Tayuya's bantering when she was brought from her thoughts when a column of fire appeared in the middle of the field, and when it disappeared stood a kid. What the hell kind of Shunshin was that, and who the hell is this Gaki? Naruto looked at them and said, I am the head of the Fuma clan. I am here to accept your challenge. Tayuya looked at him. You've got to be kidding. You're just a fucking kid. Get lost, brat, and send the real clan head or we'll destroy this town. She finished with a smirk. Naruto had enough of her mouth and unleashed his chakra. He watched as every single one of them fell to their knees from the pressure and the killing intent he was unleashing as well. You will watch your tongue. If you were a real kunoichi, then you would know age means nothing in the ninja world. He brought his chakra back under control and let his killing intent go. I don't know how Orochimaru sweet-talked each of you into serving him, but nothing good can come for working for him. You 4 with the curse seals, do you even know what it does to you each time you use it? Sure, it gives you a power boost, but did you think it wouldn't come at a cost? I've studied the curse seal from Orochimaru's personal notes he left in Konoha after he left. Each time you use that seal it slowly destroys your free will until all that is left of you is a mindless soldier for Orochimaru to do as he pleases. I'm sure you've all felt different after you use the seal more and more. He looked at their stunned faces. I have found a way to remove the curse seal if you join me. However, if you fight me I will kill you. I do not wish to, but I will do what I must to protect my precious people, and if you think you even stand a chance against, think again. That wasn't even 10% of my power you felt. Naruto finished. He could see the look of fear in each of their faces. You don't know what you're talking about. Orochimaru-sama is a great man. He helps us. Gurren yelled. He does not care for any of you. You are only pawns in his quest for power. He would kill every single one of you for even a fraction of greater power. Can you deny this after everything you have seen him do? He would kill an entire village if there was something or someone he wanted there, then swoop in and rescue whatever he wanted. Naruto spat out. Gurren had enough and charged him. She went through 4 hand seals and called out Shoten. Suishota, crystal release. Jade crystal blade, and a blade of crystal appeared on both arms. Naruto easily dodged each swing and jumped up and spun around, kicking her and knocking her back. She got up and went through 4 more hand seals and yelled out Shoten. Amiwatari no Jutsu, crystal release. The God's Crossings technique. And a long stream of sharp crystals came toward Naruto, who stood still. Ha, take that. That is what you get for badmouthing Orochimaru-sama. She smirked but quickly turned around when she heard, it is indeed an impressive attack, but it was too slow, and saw him behind her. Why do you wish to serve scum like him? What kind of man is he when he just throws away what no longer interests him? If you would serve me, I would protect you with my life, and I would never abandon you. Naruto looked her in her eyes as he spoke. He could see the hesitation and doubt in her, and she only needed a little push. Come with me and you will never be lonely again. He spoke with a smile. It wasn't that fake smile Orochimaru would give her, but a real honest smile that made her feel warm inside. He held out his hand and she slowly took it. She was surprised how warm he was. He gently lifted her up and smiled at her. What is the name of my newest friend? He asked. Gurren. My name is Gurren. He smiled at her and kissed the back of her hand, making her blush. Well, Gurren-chan, my name is Naruto. I will tell you all about me when this is all over, okay? She nodded and he kissed her forehead this time. What the hell is wrong with me? I've never let a man do this kind of thing before. But I feel so safe around him. And turned around back towards the others who hadn't moved. The reason they hadn't moved was because they couldn't believe what they just saw and heard. This kid just easily beat one of Orochimaru's best and loyal servants and managed to sway her to his side. Each one of them was also thinking of what he said. They each knew deep down that nothing good could come from serving Orochimaru, but each of them just wanted to stop being lonely so bad. Tayuya and Kin were a little jealous at the way that Hot Blonde was acting towards Gurren as well. Sakin and Yukon gathered the others around, knowing what he was planning to say could get them killed by Orochimaru. He told them of his idea and they all silently agreed, even Tayuya. Sakin looked back at Naruto, who was watching him. We've come to an agreement. The 4 of us will fight you together, and if you win, the rest of us will join you and pledge our allegiance and loyalty to you, and if we win, well, you die. Also, if you win, you will get rid of the curse seal on us. Is this acceptable? Hi, that is acceptable. Naruto replied. Naruto had Gurren stand back and Sakin had the Genins step back as well. Naruto drew his kodachis while the Sound 4 withdrew their weapons. The redhead Naruto noticed took out a flute. She must be a long-range fighter, he thought. The sight of a leaf touching the ground was the start for the battle to begin. 20 minutes later, Naruto was left standing without a scratch. The others were no match for him even in their Cure Seal level 2 forms. He created 4 shadow clones and had them heal the others. Gurren and the 3 Genin were speechless. This person, who was the youngest out of all of them, had fought 5 Junin level ninja and beat them all without a scratch. Tayuya was the first to regain consciousness. Aw fuck, what the hell hit me? Naruto walked up to her and kneeled down and leaned into her, making her blush a little. That would be me. He smiled at her. He helped her into a sitting position and walked over to the others. Nice ass, she thought offhandedly. After 10 minutes he had everyone sitting down and introduce themselves. Alright, let's start with you, Genin, Naruto said. My name is Kinuta Dosu. My skills are High Genin and I use my Melody Arm on my right forearm for my sound attacks, Dosu said. My name is Abumi Zaku. My skills are Mid Genin and like many sound ninja, I've been physically altered with hollow air tubes that extend through my arms and open through my hands, allowing me to propel a combination of air pressure and sound in various ratios, controlled by my chakra, Zaku said. My name is Tsuchi Kin. My skills are Mid Genin and I use Senbon and bells for my genjutsu, Kin stated. Naruto smiled at her, causing her to look down and blush a little. Alright, you four next, Naruto commanded. My name is Sakin and this is my older twin brother Yukon. We have a Kekkei Genkai called Soma no Ko that allows us to unify with another's body. Yukon can separate from me into his own body, but he is not used to being outside of or leading my body and is much weaker when he does so. Also, each of us Sound 4 is skilled in creating barriers and seals. Sakin finished. My name is Jirobo. My fighting style consists mostly of basic physical strikes supplemented with the ability to use my chakra to hold the earth solid. I also dislike it when Tayuya uses foul language or when she calls me fatso. He finished and Tayuya snorted at the end. She does indeed have a mouth on her, and all agree she needs to calm it down a bit and not call people hurtful names. Naruto said, giving Tayuya a look that made her humph and Naruto chuckle. Anyways, my name is Kitamaru. I am a long-range fighter and am an excellent tactical analyzer. He finished. My name is the great fucking Tayuya. She was interrupted by Naruto. Tayuya, he said, giving her a look. Fine. My name is Tayuya. I am a long-range fighter as well and the only one of the members of the Sound 4 that actually uses sound as a weapon. My main weapon is a flute, and with it I can control my doki by playing specific melodies. Naruto looked at Gurren and nodded at her. My name is Gurren. I came from a small village where I was shunned by others because of my unique powers. Later, Orochimaru appeared and destroyed the entire village single-handedly. He was intrigued by my crystal release Kekkei Genkai and offered for me to come with him. I chose to follow him because I envied his power. Over the years I become loyal to that bastard to an almost obsessive state. She looked down but then felt a hand squeezing hers and looked up to see Naruto smiling at her. She smiled back, glad to have met him. Before I introduce who I am, let's get the business stuff out of the way. I do believe I kicked your asses, which would mean you 7 now serve me. And I believe I promised I would remove your curse seals, but there is a catch. I have never tested this before, so one of you gets to be the lucky test subject. He stated and grinned at them. The others looked at him before they looked at each other. Fine, you fucking pussies, I'll do it. I'd rather be dead than a mindless body. Besides, nobody would miss me. She mumbled. Naruto stood up and walked to her and kneeled down in front of her and put a hand on each of her cheek and looked her in her eyes. Don't say that to Yuya. I would miss you, and I'm sure there are others in this group who would as well, even if they don't admit it. Then he surprised her by kissing her forehead and hugging her. I can't even remember the last time someone hugged me, she thought as a few tears ran down her face. Naruto had her sit down and had the others move back just in case. He unsealed some tools and started drawing seals around and on her curse seal on the back of her neck. He went through 25 hand seals and yelled out Fuinjutsu, Bachi Fu Heijo, sealing arts, curse seal removal. The others watched as the seals started circling around before entering Tayuya's curse seal, making her scream. They then watched as his hands started glowing white and she quieted down. After 2 minutes he stopped and took a breath and looked at her neck. He smiled and thought it worked. He started a diagnostic jutsu and found that everything was fine, and hopefully her mind will be fixed when I added the healing abilities of my light element, he added. They waited 10 minutes until she came to. How are you feeling, Tayuya-chan? Naruto asked. Tayuya blushed when she realized what he called her but replied, fine. In fact, I haven't felt this good in a long time. My mind feels a lot clearer now too. Naruto smiled at her and kissed her forehead. I'm glad that it worked. During the removal of your seal, I decided to see if I could apply a special healing ability of mine through my seal to see if I could heal your mind, and it looks like it worked. Now lie down and rest while I do the same with the others. With another kiss, but to her cheek this time, she blushed and lay down. An hour later, and each member of the Sound 4 had their curse seal removed and felt better than ever. Naruto created a clone and sent it to get Kotahime, Sasama and Hanzaki. While it left, Naruto used another of his Mokuton techniques called Mokuton, Renchuka no Jutsu, wood release, serial pillar houses technique, and created 3 houses. One for him, one for the girls and one for the other guys. They were astonished to see him use the fabled bloodline of the Shodai Hokage, and when they questioned him he told them he would explain everything to them when his other guests arrived. Naruto spent time talking to each of them but took more time talking to Gurren, Tayuya and Kin. A few minutes later Hanzaki, Sasama and Kotahime arrived. They were confused of the sight of the wooden houses and the way Naruto was acting towards his opponents. Naruto saw this and said, They have decided to serve me after I beat some sense into them. He chuckled. He felt a small amount of killing intent coming from behind him and turned around and smiled and waved his hand at them and turned back to Hanzaki's group. Now that you're here, I want us all to gather in the middle house. It's time I tell them who I am, as they don't even know my name except Gurren, but she only knows my first name. With that said, he motioned for everyone to follow him into the house. Alright, time for my introduction. My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. I am king of Whirlpool and the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi no Yoko. I am the only child and son of Namikaze Minato, Konoha's Yellow Flash and Yondaime Hokage, and Namikaze Uzumaki Kushina, Konoha's Red Death and daughter of the former king and queen of Whirlpool, Naruto stated. Naruto raised his hands to stall their questions and said, "Before you start asking questions, there is more to tell you. Since I have said this many times, I have created a jutsu that will show you everything in my life from the point Kyuubi was sealed into me up to right before I start the jutsu. After it's finished, you can ask any questions you have." Naruto went through 15 hand seals and called out Ninpo, Mu Konoran Vaza, Ninja Art, Life Viewing Technique. They watched the same thing the Kiri Nin saw. Even though he had told Hanzaki and Kodahime of his life, it was completely different from seeing it actually happen. The girls were sad and jealous when they saw Naruto and Kyuubi confess their love for each other and were planning on beating him for flirting with other women until they saw the scene with the CRA and were absolutely giddy. They saw the other women in his life he loved or had feelings for and were surprised and happy to see them among it. When it was over, he created shadow clones to comfort the women while he went to comfort Sasama. When everyone calmed down, he readied himself for what he was about to say. To Yuya, Kin, Sakin and Yukon, Jirobo, Kitamaru, Dosu, Zaku, he said, catching their attention, "I want you 7 to return to Otogakure and act as spies for me. With you 4 as his personal guards, you will have access to most of his plans for the future, and I'm sure the destruction of Konoha is in there somewhere." Also, in some of the notes he left in Konoha, he described his desire to obtain the Sharingan to further his collection of jutsu, and the only Uchiha he can beat would be Itachi's brother in Konoha. If I were him, the perfect chance to capture the Sharingan and destroy the village would be during the Chunin exams, but since Konoha has raised its graduation age to 15, he has to wait a few more years until that's possible. And since you 3 are his best genin team, I'm sure he will send you to attend the Chunin exam in Konoha in 3 years, where I plan to be as well. The others were shocked and scared to go back, knowing what Orochimaru would do to them if he found out they betrayed him. Naruto saw the looks and spoke, "I know it is extremely dangerous, but we'll never have a situation like this again. Besides, Orochimaru's greatest weakness is his overconfidence in his abilities, and he wouldn't even notice your curse seals are gone. Of course, we can give you a tattoo that looks like it in the same spot just in case. This is entirely up to each of you. I'll give you a couple days to think it over. But if you don't return to Oto, Orochimaru will send others here and he'll find out you betrayed him eventually. By doing this, he won't even know until it's too late." "What about me?" Gurren asked. Naruto looked at her and said, "If they accept, we'll have them report you died in an ambush in the mission. I need you to come with me back to Water Country," he explained. With that, he escorted the ladies to their house and gave them a kiss on the cheek each and bid them good night. The day came and they each agreed to do it. Naruto had drawn a tattoo of their curse seal where it used to be to throw Orochimaru and anyone else off. He had kissed Kodahime and Sasama before he left with the group, leaving Hanzaki in charge again. Before they left for Oto, Naruto kissed Yuya and Kin with all the passion he had and bid them a safe journey. He turned around and saw Gurren there. He walked up to her and kissed her as well. She moaned as his tongue traced her lips and she opened them, allowing him entrance. She fought for dominance as their tongues battled but lost at his skills, but wasn't disappointed. She moaned louder when she felt his hands trail down her back and land on her ass, giving it a squeeze. They broke apart, and since she was a few inches taller than him, he rested his head in her chest where she blushed but held him there. "Ready to go?" he asked. She nodded and he backed up, summoning Kamikaze again. Gurren was amazed at seeing one of the summons from the 4 legendary summoning contracts. They jumped on with him behind her, holding her waist and her leaning into his chest. He ordered Kamikaze back to Water Country. Flashback end: when Naruto returned with Gurren, he explained the situation to the others, and Rose and Haku took a quick liking to Gurren and welcomed her to the future family. Naruto, Rose, and the others decided to make their final attack on Kirigakure no Sato on October 10th, Naruto's 13th birthday. Naruto had created a Kage Bunshin no Jutsu for each squad for support and providing medical aid. They could also provide information to Naruto if that squad was in trouble. He ordered that they try to only disable their enemies and kill only as a last resort. He believed that when he confronted the Mizukage that the fighting would end soon after. The day arrived and they were moving out. Naruto had left early and was currently on a hill overlooking the entire village. When the attack started, he would head directly toward the Kiri administration building where the Mizukage would likely be. 10 minutes later the attack started and Naruto jumped off the hill and used a Kei's Shunshin no Jutsu and appeared right outside the building. He made some clones and had them surround the building and place a barrier so no one could get in or out. He knocked out any shinobi or kunoichi he encountered. He finally made it to the top floor and opened the door to the Mizukage's office. He saw him staring out the window when he entered. He turned around to look at Naruto, and when Naruto saw his eyes, it was like nothing was there. "Do you have any idea what Madara did to him, Haim?" Naruto thought. "From the fluctuation of his chakra, I think he's been placed under a very advanced genjutsu," she thought back. "Any idea how to get rid of it?" he asked. "Weaken him till he can't move and send a wave of chakra through his brain. That should dispel the genjutsu. Just make sure he stays conscious," she stated. He gave her a mental nod and focused back on Yagura. "I've come to challenge you to a duel. As long as I live, the barrier will stay up and you will be unable to repel the attackers. If you accept, meet me on the roof." And with that he used a quick Shunshin no Jutsu and appeared on the roof, followed by the Mizukage a few seconds later. Yagura did not speak and instead used the Tiger Hand seal and shouted out Sweden. Teppadama no Jutsu, water release, bullet technique. Naruto went through 3 hand seals and yelled out Doden. Doryuheki, earth release, earth style wall. As the wall went up he made the Tiger Hand seal and used Doden. Doryu Taiga, earth release, earth flow river, to cover most of the rooftop in mud. He went through 3 more hand seals and jumped up in the air and used Doden. Doryuden, earth release, earth dragon bullet, followed by 7 more hand seals and yelled out Kaden. Karyu Enden, fire release, fire dragon flame missile, and set the mud on fire, sending it directly toward Yagura. Yagura watched the earth wall shoot up, then quickly found himself surrounded by mud. 2 seconds later he saw Naruto jump up into the air breathing out a fire jutsu, lighting the mud dragon on fire towards him. He jumped out of the way but got partially burned. He went through 18 hand seals and yelled out Sweden. Daibakufu no Jutsu, water release, great waterfall technique. Naruto eyed the water before making another tiger seal and slamming his hands on the ground, yelling out Doden. Doryu Joheki, earth release, earth flow rampart, and watched as a much larger version of the Doden. Doryuheki appeared. Yagura, already exhausted, went through 44 hand seals and used as much chakra as he could and yelled out Sweden. Suiryuden no Jutsu, water release, water dragon bullet technique. Damn, that's a big dragon, Naruto thought. He dodged the water dragon and noticed that Yagura was getting tired.
Now's my chance. Let's see how effective Ero Senin's technique is, and went through 2 hand seals and slammed them on the ground and yelled Doden. Yomi Numa, earth release, swamp of the underworld. He watched the ground under Yagura turn into a swamp that slowly drains the person's chakra that gets trapped in it. He stopped the technique after a couple minutes and walked over to Yagura, who was not moving but was still conscious. He kneeled in front of his head and put a hand on each side. He slowly began sending waves of chakra into his brain. He could feel a resistance that was weakening. After a few more waves he felt it break and stopped. He activated the Shosenjutsu, mystical palm technique, and healed his burns and anything else he found. A few minutes later Yagura slowly got up and looked around before spotting Naruto. "Who are you?" he asked. "My name is Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto Mizukage, but that is not important right now. I need you to alert your forces to surrender to the rebels before any more deaths occur." "Rebels?" he questioned. "I'll explain later, but you need to do this now." And with that Naruto grabbed Yagura and Shunshin back to the office. Yagura sat down at his desk and grabbed the microphone that was connected to various speakers around the village. He pressed down the button and started, "Attention. This is an order from your Mizukage. I am ordering all Kiri NINS to surrender to the rebels. I repeat, I am ordering all Kiri NINS to surrender to the rebels." He finished his statement and Naruto grabbed the microphone and spoke into it. "Attention. This is Naruto. I am ordering a ceasefire.
Detain any and all Kiri NINS. Attend to the wounded. Will Rose, Zabuza and Kisame come to the administration building as soon as possible? That is all. Naruto and Yagura could hear cheers all across the village. Yagura looked at Naruto and asked, "What is going on? What is the last thing you can remember?" Naruto asked. "I was called by the Sandame Mizukage the day before my inauguration. I came here and turned to close the door, and when I turned around I was staring into the Sandame's eyes. They were red with 3 tomos spinning around." Yagura explained.
That happened more than 10 years ago. That man was Uchiha Madara, one of the founders of Konoha and someone who has been causing pain to others for decades now. He placed you in a very advanced genjutsu and ordered you to do horrible things. I think it would be best if we wait till the others get here. Naruto said. They waited 10 minutes until the others arrived. Yagura recognized 2 of them.
"Zabuza? Kisame? Is that you? You two didn't age well," he laughed. Rose, Zabuza and Kisame were startled at the way he was acting. The last time he joked like that was before he became Mizukage. Rose looked at Naruto and asked, "What happened?" "Madara used his Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan to place a very advanced genjutsu on him. We fought on the roof until I got him weak enough and sent waves of my chakra through his brain to dispel the genjutsu," Naruto explained. "How do you come up with that idea?" she inquired. "Q-chan," he simply stated. Rose and his knights nodded at that. "Kisame, Zabuza, why don't you stay here and help Yagura with everything he's missed, as you 3 seem to be friends? Meanwhile Rose-chan and I will take care of the forces." With that he grabbed Rose's hand and led them out of the room.
They spent the next few hours setting up patrols around the village and taking care of the wounded. Naruto created some temporary prisons with a few of his Mokuden, Shichiro no Jutsu, would release. 4 pillars prison technique. They had finally gotten the report on the casualties. 35 dead, 151 injured for the rebels. 21 dead, 376 injured for the Kirinins. Haku and Gurren were great help during the fight.
With the training so far he's taught Haku in Medjutsu, she managed to save a few lives, and with Gurren's ability to trap people in her Kekkei Genkai, that kept the casualties and injuries a lot lower. Overall it was a successful battle, as the village didn't lose that many ninja. They made arrangements for the funerals to be in a few days. Naruto spent the night with the guys celebrating his birthday and the success of the battle. When he returned to the Mizukage's palace where he and the girls were staying, he had a long make-out session with each of them with some groping, but his best present was yet to come. He went to bed with Rose and Gurren on either side of him and Haku lying on top of him. Warning Lime. He appeared in his mindscape and headed toward the house. He walked in and didn't see Kyuubi downstairs, so he headed upstairs to the bedroom. He opened the bedroom door and he stopped in his tracks at what he saw. There was Kyuubi lying in bed with red high-heel shoes, red stockings, a red thong and a red bra that barely contained her breasts. Kyuubi smiled at him. "Happy 13th birthday, Narukoi. I've decided to give you a special present this year," she said, and got up and walked over to him, swaying her hips. She led him over to the bed and took off his vest and shirt, then knocked him onto his back. She then took off his shoes, then straddled his waist and kissed him on the lips, completing dominating it as he let her do this. They broke for air and she gave him a soft kiss before kissing his jaw, then his neck, licking it a little too, making him shiver, and her smirk, then kissing her way down his chest. She began unbuttoning his pants and he lifted his hips to let her pull them down. Now he was only dressed in his boxers and she could see a very noticeable bulge. She grinned and crawled back up him, her pelvis grinding against his over and over, and she moaned when he felt it against her. She had enough and crawled back down, licking his chest on the way. She looped her fingers in his boxers and he raised his hips and she pulled them down. She blushed and was shocked at his size. Wow, and that's all him. At 13 he was already 6 inches long and about an inch thick. She looked at him in the eyes and said, "I've never done this before, so I might be a little slow." She blushed. He just smiled at her and said, "It's okay, Haim. I love you and I trust you." She smiled and leaned back up and gave him a quick kiss and returned to her prize. She slowly wrapped her hand around it and started to stroke it. She heard him moan and this turned her on. She used her other hand to gently cup his balls and started massaging them, getting more moans and groans from him. She stroked him a bit faster and saw a bit of pre-cum come out. She hesitantly stuck her tongue out and licked it. Not bad. I could definitely get addicted to this.
She started licking his cock up and down the sides and would suck on his balls. She licked her way back up and slowly took in the head.
She started bobbing up and down, taking a bit more of him each time. After a while both of them were amazed that she took the whole thing in her mouth. She started playing with his balls while sucking him off. She could hear him breathing harder and was moaning and groaning more. She started humming and his eyes opened in shock as he told her, "Q Heim, I'm about to come." She heard him and sped up her ministrations, wanting his tasty seed.
After a couple more seconds he yelled out, "I'm coming." And she pulled back to the head and he shot his seed into her mouth. She could feel it gathering in her mouth, and as she swallowed her first load he continued shooting his load. She kept swallowing and some of it started dripping down her chin. After the 10th shot he stopped. She swallowed what was in her mouth and started licking his dick clean, making him moan again. She continued holding his cock when she brought a finger to her chin to wipe the cum that escaped her mouth, and he watched as she sucked her finger clean.
"Wow, Q-chan, that was amazing," he breathed out. She smiled at him and crawled back up him and kissed him. He was a little startled since he could still taste himself on her, but he quickly got into the kiss and was dominating her mouth. They broke apart and she rested her head on his chest. "I love you, Kyubi," he said. She smiled and kissed his slightly sweaty chest and said, "I love you, Naruto, forever and ever. Happy birthday, Koi." She fell asleep shortly thereafter and he just held her close to him and watched her sleep until he fell asleep as well. Lime over. Naruto stayed in Kirigakure until the new year. During those days it was explained to the people how Yagura was being controlled this entire time, and Yagura told the people that he knew for the crimes he's committed he could never ask forgiveness, but he would help bring Kiri back to its former glory and show the world why Water Country was one of the 5 great shinobi countries. He had stepped down as Mizukage and the ninja, and people selected Rose as Godem Mizukage. Naruto had kissed her so passionately that her knees went weak in front of the entire crowd when she was sworn in. She blushed and smiled at the cheers. Naruto had his Knights of Whirlpool look for new apprentices for the new 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. Zabuza and Kisame found good apprentices in the form of brothers Hazuka Mangetsu, the older brother, and Hazuka Suigetsu, the younger brother. They were coming along quite well when a month into their training Mangetsu got sick, and if it weren't for Naruto's light element would have died. They had pledged their loyalty to him, but he told them to train harder to protect their precious people and they could call it even. Another promising student by the name of Chojuro appeared. He looked to be a bit weak, but after making him gain a bit more confidence in himself he progressed just as fast as Suigetsu and Mangetsu. He appeared to have a crush on Rose as well, but after a little talk with Naruto he seemed to had gotten over it. His relationship with Gurren, Haku and Rose had gotten stronger over the time as well. He got intimate with Gurren and Rose but only went as far as groping and oral sex as with Kyubi. With Haku she liked to cuddle, so they did that a lot. He had met the daimyo when he received word of what happened. He, like everyone else, was shocked at Yagura's sudden change of attitude after he became Mizukage, and after he informed the daimyo and Yagura of his plans, the daimyo agreed to help him however he could for helping his country. It was January 1st and Naruto was at the gates of Kiri with his loves, friends, and various ninja and civilians to see him off. "Continue training your apprentices. All of you will stay here until the world knows of my name. Zabuza, Haku, Guzu, Maizu, I want you 4 to be ready to leave after I go back to Konoha. You 4 will be sending me information on any locations that I find of interest or you find of interest," Naruto said. They nodded at him, and after a kiss to each of the girls he set for Sea Country.